Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm Larry Lawson, your host and guide on our continuing journey into the unknown as we search for answers as to what really exists on the other side. And as always, I'm coming to you from the headquarters of the X-Zone Radio and Television Broadcast Network in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm speaking to you from the studios of the Southern Command Post of the X-Zone Nation in beautiful Vero Beach and Fellsmere, Florida. As I said, it's great to be back. I've just come back from a period of time across the pond. Yes, I was in England and experiencing some things over there, and it wasn't just the beer, I might add, but it was quite a trip, probably worthy of a show of itself in the not-too-distant future. I want to give a shout-out to my sister Linda Campbell and my niece Paige Kimberly for taking good care of my son Ryan and I while we were there, as well as my good friend Chris Huff, paranormal investigator extraordinaire out of Durham in the UK. But tonight, folks, I'm really anxious to introduce to you my guest, Mr. Eric Vanderlaan of War Party Paranormal, a group I think very highly of down in West Palm Beach, Florida. Eric Vanderlaan was born on the island of Oahu in Hawaii, but has lived in South Florida since he was 8 years old. He's been investigating the paranormal for the past 8 years, and has always had an interest in both the paranormal and history of South Florida. It all started when he was on a ghost tour and caught certain anomalies that he could not explain, and that's what kicked off his investigation career. He has continued to investigate on his own until he joined PRISM Paranormal 5 years ago, and during those 5 years, Eric has learned from some of the best paranormal investigators in the business. He has experience in finding haunted locations and help operating paranormal events. Eric also has media experience, and he's made television appearances on Telemundo, Univision, and America TV. His specialty is working with the technological aspect and the use of equipment to verify scientific anomalies that are present either on video or audio during a paranormal investigation. Eric, welcome to Paranormal Stakeout, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Larry. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, you're down in the South End. A lot of folks don't realize not only the history of the South End of Florida, but also the paranormal history. And you've been down there for quite a while now. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the field.
Well, pretty much I was a paranormal fan like everyone else, watching the shows on TV. That's what got me interested in the paranormal. And then, back then, well, I'm not as skeptical as I was back then, but I was very skeptical, and I just wanted to see for myself, what was really out there and what I could find and what other people could find. And I started going on these ghost hunting tours. Actually started down, in Key West and St. Augustine, and I didn't have much. I just had my camera and started getting, weird things on there that I couldn't explain. And then one day I went down to the Deering Estate in Miami. The paranormal group over there called PRISM Paranormal, run by David Pierce Rodriguez, was running an event there. And after the event, I pretty much approached him and told him I want to go on a real investigation, and I'll do anything. I'll carry equipment, do whatever I have to do. And before I know it, I'm doing paranormal events, making TV appearances. And we were doing events down in Miami at some historical locations, and got to, witness some things I couldn't explain. And within the 5 years, I had a lot of growth, met a lot of awesome people who taught me a lot, with David at PRISM and, Scotty and Zap at War Party Paranormal. I got to spend time with Rob Damaris from Ghost Hunters International. Learned a lot from him. And now I'm with War Party, and War Party has grown to such a huge team. We're probably one of the largest teams in Florida. And Scotty gave me the opportunity to start a South team to cover the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. So I just put together a team of 8 members, and, we're getting started with I already did my first residential in South Florida with War Party, and we're working on doing some events coming in the future down in South Florida.
Cool. Well, and I'm kind of anxious to chat with you about that a little later in the show. But so you've been at this for about 8 years. And you had some things that happened on a tour. What is it that kind of turned your head, so to speak, and made you start investigating this phenomenon? What was it?
I just like the unknown. I want answers, like most people. And when I first got my first anomaly was on a ghost hunting tour in St. Augustine. We were at the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and supposedly, that place is extremely haunted. I've gotten some pretty good evidence there. Recently, I've gone back, and when we were doing the ghost tour, I'm taking pictures. We're out in front of the keeper's house, and across the street from it is a little playground. And they were telling us that the story is that back in the late 1800s, when they were building the lighthouse, they had a ramp that they would bring supplies from the docks, and the ramp up from the docks all the way up to the top of the lighthouse. And there was a cart, and the little girls, I believe it was the lighthouse keepers had 2 little girls, and one of the housekeepers had a girl, and they used to play together, and they used to play on that cart, like a roller coaster going up and down, until one day they had a tragic accident where they were going down the cart, and I guess the brake wasn't on at the end, and they ended up tumbling into the water and ended up drowning. So in the ghost tour, they're telling us that in that playground, whereas now, you can't even see the water from where at that point, but back then that's, pretty close where the ships used to dock with the supplies. But they were saying that weird things happened there, like on the swing set, the swings would start swinging for no reason. So I, wandered off by myself in that area, started taking some pictures, and got some weird light ribbons that I couldn't explain. And then I got a lot of those, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I just thought it was odd because I've never captured anything like that. And then it got to the point where I went to one of the PRISM Paranormal's events down in Miami at the Deering Estate, and started joining them and then building my equipment piece by piece. And now, like, I have so much stuff. When I go on investigations, I can't even figure out what I'm going to use.
Well, let's go back to St. Augustine for a second, because quite frankly, that's that is the place where my career, if you want to call it that, began when my older son and I, Ryan, the same one that went with me to England, had an event in the lighthouse. We actually heard the kids laughing in there, and being a cop, first thing I did was look for speakers and microphones and whatnot, and couldn't find any. And we've been back several other times and had some really interesting events there. So I can totally understand the lighthouse piquing your interest. The light ribbons you saw, I got to ask you this question. No chance it could have been the camera moving or aperture being open too long as you tried to cross a light or anything like that?
It was when I was taking those photos, it was in pitch black darkness. There wasn't any light going on.
Ah, okay.
I mean, back then I didn't know too much. Like, you know, a lot of people are into orbs. I'm not. I used to be back then, until I learned that, you know, anything could cause an orb off of a photo and in the camera.
So
you know,
true.
It could be moisture, dust. So, you know, I've got to learn a lot more throughout my years about what was paranormal and what wasn't.
Well, that's a great question. You talked about the training that you got, like I said, Zap and Scotty up there in War Party, tremendous folks. But especially with PRISM, what kind of training did you get? There's so many folks there now that just get into this, and they jump on the internet and they go to Amazon.com or whatever and buy the first piece of equipment, and they really don't know how to use it. How did you get around that? What kind of training did you get to make you more learned in the field?
Well, when I started with PRISM, I mean, David Pierce Rodriguez, he's the director there. That's pretty much where I got all my training, was through him. And he's like pretty much a guru when it comes to paranormal equipment. It was a small team. It was just him. We had an investigator / medium, and then we had another medium that was on the team. So pretty much it was like around, 3 to 4 of us at one point. And I pretty much just got thrown into it. I learned from him how he used the equipment. He recommended, what equipment to use. I mean, when I first started, I was more into taking videos and pictures. And I know getting paranormal evidence through that is very difficult. So I started out, my first equipment was with the knockoff GoPro that was modified for full spectrum.
Right.
And then just started filming a lot. Started getting EVPs on that camera. Then, I built it up slowly, started getting recorders. My first EMF detector was a K2 meter, and now more sophisticated. Got a REM pod later on, and so on, and just built it little by little.
Well, we're getting ready to take our first break here in just a second, but when we get back, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about equipment, because you mentioned in your bio that you're a tech guy. So I want to hear more about that, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about the investigations that you've done. So, folks, stay with us, and we'll be back in just a few minutes right after this break with my guest tonight, Eric Vanderlaan of War Party Paranormal. Be back in just a flash.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And we are back on Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, Eric Vanderlaan of War Party Paranormal out of West Palm Beach, Florida. Eric's running the South End team for War Party Paranormal, covering the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. So, Eric, just before we went on the break, you were talking a little bit about how you got into the field and your mentors, so to speak. But now that you've been doing this for a few years, you've been investigating on your own, correct?
That's correct. That's how I started.
Well, tell us a little bit about your first real experience. I know you mentioned that you kind of got your interest peaked in St. Augustine. I can certainly understand that. But talk to me about your investigations. Any amazing things happen there to you? Anything that's really caught you off guard, scared you, for lack of a better word?
Well, I'm not really a type of person that gets scared. Like, if something catches me off guard, I pretty much go after it to see what it is.
Okay.
But I did, like, I don't know how many investigations when I first started at the Deering Estate, and it's one of the most haunted places in Miami.
Tell us about the Deering Estate. What is the Deering Estate?
Well, the Deering Estate, it originally started as the town of Cutler, when the settlers started coming into Miami and developing Miami. And the town of Cutler is just, I don't know, maybe like a 20-minute drive south of downtown Miami. And basically what it was is the way the settlers arrived there was by boat. And it was a little town. They had a hotel there called the Richmond Cottage, which expanded throughout the years. And once Henry Flagler built the railroad train down to Key West, he built it further out west, and everyone thought he would build it along the coastline, but that was prime property and no one wanted that. So once the railroad was built, which was back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, the town was abandoned, and then Charles Deering, he ended up buying the property and ended up living in the Richmond Cottage while he was building his mansion, which was Stone Mansion. And even before that, I mean, the history goes back to the days of the Tequesta Indians. There's an Indian burial mound that's there, like dates back over 300 years old. The University of Miami archaeological team has been digging there. They found a woolly mammoth, a saber-toothed tiger, and just recently they found, I don't know, maybe like a couple 1,000-year-old Indian little girls that were buried there. So they're digging again.
Interesting.
So it's rich with, like, Native American history and, going all the way through Charles Deering when he was living there. So supposedly on the property, we've gotten evidence of Native Americans. I've gotten EVP there by the burial mound. And we've gotten evidence of Charles Deering and his wife, Marion Deering. We've gotten EVPs of them.
How were you able to identify them in the EVP?
Well, by asking questions, and them answering the questions intelligently, pretty much confirming who they were. Not by actually. Well, we've gotten a couple EVPs where we've gotten Charles, but just like asking questions that related to their lives there, we pretty much narrowed it down that could have been them. Even before he lived there, we've gotten activity of, I'm thinking maybe people who used to stay at the Richmond Cottage when it was the town of Cutler. We've gotten a lot of EVPs of a little boy that seems like he's stuck there. I've heard footsteps in the Stone Mansion. There's a basement there that's pretty interesting that the people at the Deering Estate didn't find until after Hurricane Andrew, when they discovered an old bookshelf that was hiding a vault door, like a bank vault door. And they had mystery there. Yeah, and they had to have a safe cracker come in, and they were really cautious because they thought maybe something like that would be booby trapped. But basically, that was a wine cellar that was hidden during the Prohibition years. And we've gotten a lot of EVPs, weird cold spots, odd EMF hits there.
Tons of evidence out of the Deering Estate then.
Yeah, I've probably been investigating there, done investigations there for, I don't know, I've probably done like 20 investigations at that place.
Now, the most compelling is some of the EVPs, from what I'm getting, is the most compelling stuff out of there?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, the EVPs are the most compelling evidence that you've got from the Deering Estate down in Miami?
That's correct. EVPs, a lot of personal experiences. I talked about the footsteps. I've seen doors open.
Right. Oh, okay. Now, were you able to get a lot of that on camera?
We weren't able to get the footsteps or the doors, but, mostly on camera what we get is like we're using EMF meters and asking questions, and, the meters go off on cue almost like they're answering it. I've gotten that on video. Sure. And tons of EVPs as well. And
I guess the reason I'm really hitting on this is you've gotten a lot of evidence there. And what do you guys do with that evidence once you get it? Do you collect it, save it, and keep it, preserve it? What do you guys do with the evidence then?
Basically, we post it. We posted on, back then when I was with PRISM Paranormal, we posted on the Facebook page, on the website, to try to share it with everybody.
One of the things that I'm very, very focused in on is the collection and preservation of the evidence, so that and sharing it obviously with others, because I think that's something we don't do enough in this field, but also keeping it so that we can examine it and compare it to other evidence that maybe investigators that came down there and did an investigation themselves in the Deering Estate, or perhaps even did it in another place, yet the comparison of the evidence could provide a link to the phenomenon, if that makes sense.
Well, that is correct, because between our events, we would invite other teams to come investigate us, just us alone. And it's funny because we got similar EVPs of, the people that used to stay there.
Oh, okay. Have you been able to identify, for example, have you gotten any names that you've been able to go back and historically verify that were there? In other words, have you got a name on an EVP that you've been able to compare with an actual in the past?
Well, the hard part was back when it was the town of Cutler, there wasn't much records of it. So it was kind of hard to verify who that person was. I know we've gotten. Remember, I mentioned about the boy EVPs that we were talking about, and we've gotten his name. We've gotten a lot of Peters, and we've gotten even a boy's voice saying Peter. And for some reason, whenever we have the meters that light up, every now and then, it's almost like he's playing with a toy. Like he likes to light them up.
Okay. And that's good stuff. And once you get that, do you preserve it somewhere so that you could pull it up 5 years later and compare it to what somebody else got? Do you guys have that mechanism in place?
We do preserve it. I guess it's preserved on the web page and the Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really try to. We do preserve it, but the reason why we preserve it is we like to share it when we do our events. When we have our events, what we do in the beginning is we do a presentation of all the evidence that we've collected. And there's been other teams before PRISM that have investigated that place that has gotten some pretty incredible evidence. Actually, photography evidence as well.
Really? And who was that? No offhand?
They were called Messengers. They're no longer operating now. The director of Messengers, she moved to Detroit, Michigan, but they've gotten some incredible pictures. Like one picture, the Deering Estate, it sits right on Biscayne Bay, and there's a keyhole channel where Charles Deering's boat used to come in, and the channel's is shaped as a keyhole, and along it are these palm trees, and someone had caught a photo of a lady in a Victorian dress. Someone else from Messengers has also caught an Indian figure, almost like they were wearing like a vest with beads on it, but very faint.
Okay.
The last time I was there, we've caught an image of a lady that was, we were all the way out by the water and looking towards inland, towards the Deering Estate. We got an image of a lady, and it was really strange. You could see like her hands, but their hands were lighting up, and also the face. It was really odd, and no one was out there because I would have been able to see them.
Right. But where are these photos now, though? And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. Where are these photos, and can other people see them and compare them to what they had? And that's where evidence collection and preservation truly comes into play here. And that's like I said, a big bugaboo of mine, if you will. That's right. I think that's how we're going to be able to gain the legitimacy we need in this field, is by collecting the evidence in this way. But hey, that's just me.
That's a great question, because I started an Instagram account just to share my evidence, and it's just really blown up. I just have a lot of people that are reaching out to me, even investigators from all over the world, and that's what I do. Everything a lot of the great evidence that I capture, and even talking about Messengers, what they caught, that's all posted on my Instagram page.
And that's a great way to keep it, especially if people are getting a hold of you from other parts of the world. Now, we're getting ready to take our next break here. So, folks, stay with us. Got some more questions to ask as we talk to Eric Vanderlaan of War Paranormal. So stick with us. We'll be back right after these messages.
How would your life change if you could develop the business and personal skills that you need in order to make more money? Do you want to learn how to achieve your big life goals faster? Then go to findhiddenmoney.com and get the Goal for It online course. The course teaches you how you can set and achieve your biggest goals while completely overcoming the roadblocks to your goals so that you can realize your dreams and imagine more success. Go to findhiddenmoney.com.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Did you expect your business to flourish, but instead it plateaued or didn't get off the ground yet? Would you like to achieve massive goals and discover new sources of income within your business? When you're ready to experience that type of success with fast results, Cindy Hendricks is the business coach for you. Her work with entrepreneurs and business owners has been life-changing. To get you and your business where you want to be, go to imaginemoresuccess.com.
Has the fear of public speaking stalled your business or personal life? What would you give to develop and maintain supreme confidence? Have an invaluable private program to always perform at your best. Imagine how you would feel. You can have all that and so much more today with Thomas Hyde's life-changing course called Number One Fear Unleashed. Visit numberonefear.com and be liberated from your fear of public speaking.
And we are back for round 3 of tonight's episode of Paranormal Stakeout with my guest, Eric Vanderlaan. Eric, just before the last break, we really started talking about your group and the evidence you've collected and what's been done with the evidence. And you brought up some good points about keeping stuff on your Instagram. But there's more to what you do than just investigate. You guys are involved in paranormal events, paranormal tourism, as I like to call it, correct?
Right, we do that as well. Now I'm doing that with War Party. On top of the paranormal events, we also do residentials. We're here to help people. If they think something's going on in their residence or business, we can go out there and investigate and help them out.
Oh, cool. Now, let's talk about that for just a second.
Sure.
Helping people out. Tell me what your goal is, what you try to do to help.
Well, it's very structured. When I was with PRISM Paranormal, I didn't get to do many residential events. I just started doing that with War Party Paranormal. And I pretty much learned the process from Scotty and Zap, and they're pretty professional about it. We actually have a client care representative that if someone thinks something's going on in their home or business and wants us to come by, before that happens, we have this individual on our team that does the client care, ask them a series of questions, anywhere from, if they drink, do drugs, if they have any issues with mental illness, and so on.
Yeah, very sensitive stuff, yeah. And I think most groups that are professional and responsible, in War Party, I certainly would count into that mold. That's what they do. They check and make sure they know what they're walking into. So you've got a customer care person there. Go on from there. What do you guys do next at a residence?
So once they decide that it's worth going in there to investigate, like, for example, the one I did recently, we'll go in there and investigate. But what we'll do is we'll have the client not watch us investigate. We either have them away from the house or in the bedroom. And then what we try to do is collect as much evidence as we can and not tell them anything about it and review it. Mm-hmm. And what we'll do is we'll go back and tell them our findings and, tell them if we think anything's really going on there. I mean, a lot of times you'll get people who think something's going on in their house and it's really, nothing, or it could be something that is mental. We have professionals outside of the team that we can refer them to, anywhere from ministers to psychiatrists that can help these people out.
So you actually refer folks to medical personnel?
That's correct.
Okay. What is your goal when you say to help? What's your primary function in helping?
Well, we want the client to, their mind to be at ease. First of all, what we want to know if there's actually something paranormal going in their house. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, the last investigation I did, the lady had a video that she took on her phone where she got some EVPs there. Mm-hmm. And she just wanted to get validation that she wasn't going crazy, that there was something actually going on in her house. Okay. So basically what we do is we go there and give them the validation if there is or if there isn't. And, everybody has a different situation when it comes to what type of residences we do. Just recently, I wasn't a part of it, but this was actually last night. War Party had a residential up in West Palm Beach, and supposedly someone was dabbling in demonic and satanic rituals, and they believe that something was going on there and their residence as well.
Now, did they find out about the black arts activity in there prior to the investigation? Did the customer care person find that out prior to? In other words, did they know going in? They did know going in. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you folks come across investigations where you were able to tell the client that there really isn't anything there? It's the heavy EMFs from a transformer that's causing them to feel paranoid or experience certain things. Have you ever been able to debunk it and tell them, no, you're okay, there's nothing going on here?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, for example, that one residence I was telling you about, she had a lot of high EMF going on in the guest bedroom and in the living room, and then there's a wall that separates those two rooms, and she had a router that was transmitting Wi-Fi that was pretty powerful, and that was emitting a high EMF. We didn't get any evidence, but I think that the high EMF was something that might have caused her reason to believe that maybe something was going on. If I could tell you the story really quickly, basically what was going on was her mom had recently passed away, and this was around the holidays during Christmas time, and she was feeling down, and she was having issues with her boyfriend, and she took this video and heard voices of her mom, and the video is pretty incredible, but to keep a long story short, after the investigation, we didn't get anything, and the only thing that I could explain was either the high EMF or maybe something was going on, but maybe her mom was showing up during the holidays because that was a special time in her mom's life, spending time with her daughter, and she was going through a hard time, and maybe she was just trying to comfort her.
And could also it be the emotion she's feeling of losing her mother, perhaps, contributing to it? Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we need to worry about as paranormal investigators, to be responsible. I worry about folks that go into homes and say that we're going to help solve your problem, and they give folks that maybe have some other underlying issues false hope.
Exactly.
I guess one of the visions I get is somebody walks in, I want to know what's going on here, and I need you to take care of it, and a group comes in and cleanses the house, as a lot of groups do.
Right.
And I'm not doubting that can't happen, but what then happens if the organization says we've taken care of the problem, and the person feels better for a day, and then suddenly, for whatever reason, they're experiencing it again, and next thing you know, they become worse off physically and mentally because this problem was supposed to be solved and it's not. And that group said my problem was solved and it's not. And now it's worse.
Right.
And it could be from a bunch of different reasons. So that's why I'm very, very concerned about ethics in our business and making sure people don't make claims that they can't come through with.
Exactly.
And that's where responsibility comes into place.
Right, now, and that's why with War Party Paranormal, we have these professionals that we can refer them to. If she's suffering from depression, we can have someone that could help her with that.
Yeah, and that's good. Now, have you ever run across a case where it's truly you believe something to be demonic in nature and they need some sort of religious or spiritual help? Has that ever occurred?
No, not yet. I plan to focus on doing more residential, since that's what War Party Paranormal is all about, helping people. And that's the reason why I joined them, and also to run a team down south, having that opportunity. So I'm still learning about that, hoping to get better at it.
Yeah, and helping people is a great thing, as long as we're not telling them we can do things that we can't. And a lot of groups do that, but a lot of folks don't. And like I said, I know War Party have a lot of faith in Zap and Scotty, so I know they run a great operation. But let's take a couple minutes now to talk about this topic of paranormal tourism. And I conduct tours myself, and I really, really thought for a while that this will be a phenomenon that will die off. Well, I'm finding it's not. There's more and more people that are wanting to see what this whole thing is about, and I think it's grown in the industry. It's made this phenomenon get even bigger. what is it that you guys do, your war party do, as far as getting this information out to the public? Tell us a little bit about it.
We advertise it through social media. That's where you can get a lot of people interested in it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's the only way. And through word of mouth, wherever we are doing these events, that place will advertise it as well on their website. They've been pretty easy to sell out. I mean, a lot of people are interested in these things.
I would agree. Well, what sort of events do you do? What sort of things do you do? Do you do tours? Do you do?
So our events are completely different, or they're different than what you would do, like say at a Key West or St. Augustine. A lot of those where they give you a K2 meter and you walk around and they tell you ghost stories. Ours is more hardcore. What we do is, we have tons of different types of equipment, and we pretty much have these groups of people. We'll split them up because we're in a large location to small groups, and we'll actually investigate with them and give them opportunities to investigate with us and take a crack at it.
You teach, in other words. You show them how.
Exactly.
Do you share the history with them also? Because I feel history is an important part of this.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
How do you intertwine the two?
Well, basically, like for example, we just started doing paranormal events at Yesteryear Village, which is in West Palm Beach. And Yesteryear Village has a collection of historical homes that were going to be demolished.
Well, hang on just a second.
Okay.
I just looked at the clock. We're about ready to take our last break. When we get back, I want you to tell me and the audience about Yesteryear Village. It's a pretty cool place down in Palm Beach. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes on Paranormal Stakeout with my guest, Eric Vanderlaan.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Christopher Fulton is a survivor of the national security state. All he wanted to do was preserve history when he acquired a Cartier watch from the estate of President Kennedy's personal secretary. But that simple act set off a terrible chain reaction. He was pursued by the U.S. Justice Department and the FBI, thrust into the middle of the U.S. government's Assassination Records Review Board, even monitored and pursued by the Russian government. All because that Cartier watch was the missing link of evidence, a timepiece worn by JFK that fateful day in Dallas, a link resulting in Christopher being incarcerated and attacked for 9 years years because he opened a hidden chapter in history. The intriguing journey outlined fully in Christopher Fulton's memoir, The Inheritance, is available now through TrineDay.com or Amazon.com. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination by Christopher and Michelle Fulton is a must-read, an incredible tale of how easily our own government can overrule justice. The Inheritance, Poisoned Fruit of JFK's Assassination.
And we are back, folks. This is our last segment of tonight with my guest, Eric Vanderlaan of War Party Paranormal. And you can check them out at www.warpartyparanormal.com. You can also catch them on Facebook and Instagram under Ghost Hunters of South Florida. So get on there and check out Eric and his team, and check out War Party out of West Palm Beach. Also want to make note of the great programming here on the X-Zone Radio and Television Broadcast Network. All the great shows, you can get to it by checking us out at www.xzbn.net. I'd also like you to visit me on my website, www.paranormalfbi.com, or on the show here at www.paranormalstakeout.com. So, Eric, as we finish this last segment together, you were talking about yesteryear. It's a village in West Palm, and it's one of the events that your organization puts on. Tell us a little bit more about it. What is Yesteryear Village?
Well, Yesteryear Village has a collection of historical buildings. These were buildings that were spread out all over the West Palm Beach area. That were pretty much going to be demolished, but the folks at Yesteryear Village wanted to save the history and actually moved them over to this location and restored these buildings. The most famous building that's there is the Riddle House, which was featured on Ghost Adventures. Mm-hmm. It used to be the cemetery caretaker's home at a cemetery out east in West Palm Beach, and this place is really interesting. There must be like about at least 15 buildings. We investigate 5 of them, and we've gotten some pretty good activity there. Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me about the events. You allow the public to come in. You guys basically guide them through the event?
Right. So basically what we do is they have volunteers there. They know the history of all the buildings, and they're dressed up in, late 1800 period clothing, and we split everyone into groups and rotate them at each of these buildings. Mm-hmm. And the volunteers, they'll walk around and tell them the history of the place. And then once they enter the building, we have different groups of people with paranormal equipment in these buildings, and we do our investigation while they're there and try to gather evidence while they're there on the spot. And then by the time they walk into the building, the volunteers already explained the history of the place.
So then you'll show them how to use the equipment and talk to them about any evidence they may have gotten, explain whether it's evidence or it's explainable, that type of thing?
That's correct. Like we did our first event a few months ago. We're coming out with our next event, which will be August 9th. And the way I do it is I have the Riddle House. I have, all my equipment laid out all over the house. We walk around. We try to see if we can get any of the equipment to go off. My main thing is getting evidence by EVPs with the recorders. Mm-hmm. So we'll ask questions and try to see if we can get some live EVPs right there on the spot.
What's the best evidence that you've gotten with guests that are coming to visit?
The EVPs are the best.
Have you got one in particular, or anyone that stands out that you can recall?
Yeah, we've gotten several. There's a place called the Settler's Home. And the Settler's Home, there used to be someone famous by the name of John Dillinger. I don't know if you remember him. He was an old-time
the name rings a bell, yeah.
And actually I was with Zap, and we were doing recordings, and he asked, and I have that actually on video, and I made a promo video that's going to be on Yesteryear Village's website of all the evidence we gathered, put into one little 3-minute video. And Zap asked the questions, is there anyone here with us? Can you tell me your name? and he got a response of John and then Dillinger, but the last part of the name was cut off, like because he cut him off. And that was pretty interesting. And he didn't even realize that John Dillinger had stayed at that building until he turned his head and saw this plaque that had information about it. And then there was John Dillinger's name right in front of him.
See, that's a great way to put evidence together with historical fact. I like that. So that is pretty significant. Any visual sightings there by either you during your investigation or during guests that you bring when you bring them in?
We haven't had any visuals. We've done private investigations to gather evidence so we can present it to the guests that come. But we've had some experiences. There's a building called the Hunter's Shack. It looks like an old log cabin, and several of our investigators have seen shadow figures there. I've gotten, and then just a lot of EVPs and intelligent EVPs as well.
Now, what do you mean by intelligent EVPs? If you can explain that to my audience.
To the point where I'm asking a question and I get an intelligent response.
In other words, they answer the question directly.
Exactly, just like how I mentioned the EVP with John Dillinger.
Sure.
And we also use spirit boxes as well. It's connected to a portal speaker, and we've gotten some pretty good responses off that as well.
Now, what piece of equipment? What does that do?
So basically, what a spirit box is, it's almost like your old transistor radio. And when you're turning the tuner, like with a knob, and you're going through the stations, you get if you can do it fast, you'll get words going through the station and static in between.
The white noise, right?
And white noise, exactly. And a lot of investigators believe that spirits can communicate through those radio frequencies. So a lot of times we've gotten intelligent responses to that. And then what the portal speaker does is it cuts out all the white noise to where you only hear the voices to make it sound a lot clearer.
Interesting. And ITC, instrumental transcommunication, or this gathering of voices through the white noise, that actually goes way, way back. And even people like Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, and some of the famous early scientists in the radio world talked about that possibility. So I personally, correct. This is just my opinion, I think that's where we're going to get, if we're going to get a break, it's going to be in that field. So I find that very fascinating. Now, how many people do you get coming to these events, average?
We try to keep the group small just to make it more intimate. If you have too many people there, you're going to get a lot of, you won't get, the quiet that you need to collect evidence, because it does have to be quiet and a lot of interference. So what we try to do is we try to keep it to about 30 people, and we split them up into 3 groups or maybe 4 groups between 10 and 5 people.
Okay. And do you guys charge for this?
Yesteryear Village does, yes.
Okay. And but do you guys receive any compensation for your work?
No, our compensation for our work is having the chance to investigate the place ourselves. I mean, we're very passionate about the paranormal. So when we get a really incredible place like this, I mean, we'll do these events for free. And I enjoy doing events. I mean, I enjoy sharing and, showing this out to the people who haven't experienced this.
And I think sharing the history of the property is another huge part of it too, and I applaud you for that. Sharing the history and getting the history out, as well as the paranormal history, both can be very important. But I think we've lost in our whole society the understanding of history and how important it is. So I'm really, really glad to hear you guys are doing this. So you get 30
And for me, doing these events, when I'm going to these historical places, for me, it's like you're going back in time, like back in history. That's why. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy it.
Good. Well, so let me ask you this question. You've been doing this for a few years now. You've had some experiences. You've gotten some good evidence. What do you think this phenomenon is? What is a ghost? What's your opinion, your theory?
I think it's I think it could mean a lot of things. Because, Albert Einstein said that energy never ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it could be lingering energy. It could be someone who passed away and, had a tragic past, or that was really attached to a place, like Charles Deering and his place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're at the Deering estate during sunrise, it's the most incredible view you'll ever see in your life. Like, why would you want to leave that place? And I also believe that when you pass away, and everyone has different beliefs. My background is Christian belief, and I believe when you go off to your heaven, and me, heaven with God, and that happens, there's no time. Mm-hmm. And I think that period when you pass away and reach to the place where you're going to end up, since there's no time and we're in time, that could maybe take a matter of seconds for them, but for us, that could be one day, it could be 10 years, it could be 100 years, since time doesn't exist. That's my theory.
Yeah, and I can't disagree with that. And there's so many theories out there, everything from dimensional theories that Einstein also talked about, as well as is it the residual energy of those that have passed, or is it our own mind? That is the other interesting theory that's out.
And that's why we do this, because no one's an expert in it. We're all discovering, and we're all pioneers trying to learn.
And here's why your events at the Yesteryear Village is so darn important, because if you guys go out there and you investigate and you collect that evidence, you save it and you compare it and you find patterns, or you find differences in the evidence you've collected, it's going to get us further towards finding the answer as to what really, really does exist on the other side. Exactly. And unfortunately, my friend, we have reached the end of our time tonight, but a great discussion. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for bringing me.
And hope to have you again soon. Give my best to Scotty and the gang. And folks, thank you for joining us tonight on Paranormal Stakeout. We'll see you next time on the other side. Have a good night.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.